So the big news this week is that Fiserv is opening up the Excel debit card network that it owns and
Right.
operates for purchases at cannabis dispensaries.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This is a big deal, because it's like I don't need these all the time. I only need these. you
Sure.
know, the fact is that, there's no major acquirer has been able to service what I call pot shops, um, because of not only because of the federal legal issues, but Visa and Mastercard just outright forbid it.
Right.
But Fiserv owns this network Excel, which, let's see, what is it? It has something like um 3,100 financial institutions participate on Excel,
Right.
and about 300 merchant locations are served.
300 merchant locations?
Excuse me, 3 million.
I was
3
going to say. I
million
was like, okay.
merchant,
Yeah.
sorry, 3 million merchant locations.
Right. Right. Okay.
So I mean, the cannabis market is huge. I mean, consumers spent an estimated $15.2 billion at state authorized pot shops last year. By 2028, the estimated spend is expected to reach $171 billion. There's been lots of one-off solutions that usually get cut off at the knees. They've been like prepaid cards, digital wallets, and cashless ATMs, which we've talked about a few times on here. But we're up to about 3 dozen states that have legalized recreational and/or medicinal uses of cannabis. So there's dispensaries in 3 dozen states.
Right.
So basically, so cardholders, people with Excel cards can make card present, pin based, mag stripe purchases at cannabis dispensaries where it's legal. Fiserv is also partnering with financial institutions through that are on the Excel network to support issuance of debit cards to licensed pot shops. Now
Got it.
that they can't be used. They can't be used to actually pay for pot, you know, but they can
Okay.
be used for ancillary services. Like,
Sure.
so that's a big deal. I mean,
Mm.
we're gonna. I think I know that we've talked here in the past about some some places. I think Fiserv was even one of them that would support CBD,
Right.
but this is like a whole order of magnitude greater than that, and
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think it's going to blow the market open. I mean, if Fiserv's going to do it, then other people are going to follow. They just
And
have to
so
be
so let me just make sure I understand something. And you may not know the answer to this yet, but if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, are we saying that now ISOs that work with Fiserv, ISVs that work with Fiserv, they now have a way to offer payment acceptance in
I can't say for sure, but it sure sounds like it.
like in a very limited way, right? So it'd have to be like,
Sure.
hey, there's one kind of debit card. Because the reason I'm saying that is what I find really interesting about that is I would think that a secondary business that's going to come out of this like today, somebody is going to start a huge issuing side, right? Because if
Right.
I'm if I'm
Sure.
if I own a pot shop, well, I want to be able to issue my customers this debit card
Or I
that
want
they
my
are
well, or I want my customers to have this debit card. So maybe I'm going to
right.
uh, pair up with a local bank that issues
Right,
those
that
debit
issues
cards.
those cards. But again, I would say I would imagine someone is, I'm sure many people are already thinking this, but somebody's going to come up with a closed loop system here where they're going to be like, oh, well, like Fiserv is a good example of that. It's like, well, we can issue these cards that can be accepted and we can accept these cards. And so
Right.
there's a lot of extra money to be made there because you're issuing and accept and acquiring.
Yeah.
And so I'll be very interested to see who comes out with that. And again, it sounds to me, and I could be wrong. This is the first I've heard of it, but it sounds to me like there's probably a closed loop system here that Fiserv could either create or, more importantly, that they could facilitate. So that if
Exactly.
there's a lot of ISVs already out there that are servicing these business types with point of sale
Sure.
solutions, right? And they're doing cashless ATM or whatever else, they could come and say, "Oh, hold on, wait a minute. We can issue cards. So when your customer says, "Oh, you don't take card," it's like, "Well, no, we do take one kind of card, but it's
Right,
only this kind. We'll issue it to you here. Let me scan this QR code, download our app, and you can get a virtual card right now that's
right.
on this network." You know what I mean? So there's going to be things
And if
like that
my
coming.
memory serves correctly, there's already a lot, these 3,100 financial institutions, a lot of them are sort of in the central part of the country. So, look at the back of your card. If it says Excel,
Right.
you can do it.
Right. Yeah.
And I
Very
think
interesting.
that's what they're going to do is that, you don't take cards. Well, let me see your debit card. Oh, yeah, we do. We'll take this card because they'll look at the back of it,
Right.
see the Excel,
Yeah.
and say, oh, yeah, we can do that.
Right. Or they might even just, swipe the card in the terminal and it'll come back declined or approved based on if
Right,
they accept that
exactly.
type.
Right.
There's so
Yes.
the other thing that's interesting is too, it sounds to me like ISOs and acquirers that want to take advantage of this, they're gonna have to rethink a little bit with their merchant applications and things in terms of
Right.
it, to my knowledge, I personally haven't, maybe I just haven't seen it. I don't remember seeing a merchant application where you could get that granular. It was like, do you want to turn on PIN debit or not? Whereas
Right.
in this case, it needs to be you want to turn on PIN debit for Excel. That's it.
Right.
So
Right.
that's another level of granularity that doesn't really exist right now, at least on the
Right. It
merchant
doesn't
applications.
exist, but it wouldn't be that hard to
No, not at
make
all.
it work.
Like I said, I
Right.
think this is going to be a scramble where it's like, man, if this is what it is now. There's going to be a
Yeah.
scramble. There's going to be a lot of new businesses pop up, a lot of innovation, and it's
Oh
going to be
yeah.
good. So,
I see, with them doing it, that now I see some, the other, especially the larger, um, the larger acquirers that have access to, you know,
yeah. Well, and the larger acquirers that have an interest in this high risk vertical, they're gonna
right.
they're gonna be all over this.
Right.
So,
And then,
yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of money not to have, I would think
Yes.
the interest is going to be there eventually.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
who's going to be first
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
gate. So,
Wow. Very interesting. All
yeah.
right. Well, we'll see what innovative companies pop up as a result of this
Yeah.
disruption. So, yeah, I like it.
I'm real intrigued to see what happens
Yeah.
with this. So,
All right. What's
here's an
next?
interesting one that came up for me. The attorneys general in 44 states, they've written to payments companies seeking help in reining in computer generated non consensual intimate imagery. That's a mouthful right there.
Okay.
Commonly known as deepfake pornography or revenge porn.
Okay.
Apparently, these computer generated images have increasingly been used to embarrass and exploit people around the world. Not only like notable people, people who we've
Sure.
heard of, like Taylor Swift, for example,
Sure.
was a subject of one of these. But apparently, they're also used to like intimidate young people,
Hmm.
teenagers,
Okay.
teenage girls especially. The letter was issued by the National Association of Attorneys General, and it was sent to the legal counsels of Visa, MasterCard, American Express, PayPal, Google, and Apple Pay.
Okay.
And it asked the companies what they're doing to ferret out deepfake tools and content, quote, if at all. And they're also asked for commitments not to be, quote, complicit in the creation and spread of these deepfakes, such as allowing them to access the authorization and payment processes.
Hmm.
Now, I came upon this interesting, the lead attorney general, state attorney general, is from your state, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Um, and he issued a press release saying, this is something we're really going to be focused on. And it said, quote, payment platforms typically have terms of service and acceptable use policies that prohibit the use of their services in connection with harmful content. At times, they've taken action to remove the ability for sellers to accept payment for other services that are related to harmful content. And this is harmful content, so they should be
Yeah.
doing something about it.
Hmm.
In addition to that, letters were also sent to the three major search engine companies,
Right.
what they're doing. I reached out to MasterCard, asked them what they were doing, and a spokesman suggested in an email that the company's on the same page as the AGs.
Hmm.
Quote, he said, quote, we have zero tolerance for unlawful activity on our network. When we see or are made aware of specific instances of such activity, we investigate the allegations and take action to ensure compliance with both local laws and our rules and
Mm.
standards.
You know
So,
what's what's a really interesting caveat to this, Patty, and I'm trying to remember now the country because I saw it recently and I can't remember what country it is, but there's a country, it's a smaller country. They are coming out with the concept of I can't remember, I wish I could remember how it was worded, but the idea that in their country, a person's face, image, etc., is like trademarked to them.
interesting. Wow. Yeah. Like so you can't replicate it.
Well, and so yeah, by doing that, any sort of
Right.
replication in that way, even included their voice. It was very, very
Uh-huh. Yeah,
interesting.
that in this, this computer generated, these deep fakes
Right.
apparently can also be audio.
Well, of course, yeah, it's going to be all
Yeah.
that, and so, but I think what they kind of made that move because they wanted to make it to where, sure, it's obviously criminal to do things that are predatory or whatever, but then they
Right.
also made it to where there's a huge financial implication if a
Right.
company is even if a company enables a user on their platform in that country to do a deep fake of somebody else, they're infringing upon, again, I don't think it was called a trademark, but it kind of that concept. They were
Right.
infringing on this
Right.
person's right to their own appearance and
Their own
audio or
image.
whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I think, this is interesting. I think obviously the deep fake stuff is going viral. I think it's going to be interesting to see what, if anything, the card brands can really truly do about this. I think,
Right.
I think ultimately there needs to be, you know, some really long, detailed conversations in Washington about all of this, and there need to be laws that are made about the
Right.
use of these deep fakes and what is, what is illegal, and again, also what is, um, where is there a financial obligation, right? So I think that's going to come
Right.
into it as well.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
And financial liability, I think it more,
exactly. Yeah, right.
yeah,
That's the right word.
right.
Yeah,
More to the point. Yeah.
yeah.
But
Okay.
I'll be honest, I was unaware that this had become, so prevalent
Pervasive.
that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the I mean, you get the attorneys general of that many states,
Right. It's a big
coming
deal.
together.
Hmm.
That's Republicans as well as Democrats.
Right, right. And I feel like too that's kind of the tip of the iceberg in terms of like, yes, this is a very extreme version of what's being deepfakes are being used for, but of course they're also being used for so many other things. People are doing fake job interviews. I mean, there's just a million things, right, that are happening
Oh
along those
yeah.
lines.
Oh,
So it'll
it's
be
really kind of scary how
it
many how
is.
many things are being done.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but I thought that
What's our
that
next
one was
one?
really interesting,
Yeah.
especially because brings in the card companies.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So another thing that I came up with is I've come across a couple press releases and stories in the mainstream media about how consumers are dialing down their use of credit cards after a pandemic related surge that this blows my mind pushed balances above $1 trillion.
Wow. Hmm.
An article in the Wall Street Journal reports that credit card spending is growing more slowly than debit card for the first time in 4 years.
Mm. Yeah.
Credit card spending grew 7 times as fast as debit card spending back in
Mm.
the pandemic and after.
Right.
Based on data from MasterCard and Visa, debit card spending rose 6.57% during the first 6 months of this year, compared to 5.5% for credit cards.
Hmm. Interesting.
But here's the thing, in addition to the bump in debit card usage, buy now, pay later has, quote, exploded among consumers, the
Hmm.
journal reported. Uh, that's good news for buy now, pay later company Klarna. That's the Swedish
Yeah.
based one that's planning an IPO for this fall.
Yeah. Good timing.
The company's expecting to raise up to $14 billion. Now that might sound a little, that's interesting because the BNPL market is valued at 18.02 billion as of last year, and it's projected to grow to 60 billion by 2035.
Hmm.
10 years from now, in 10 years it's going to what? Almost 5 times, grow by almost 5 times.
Hmm.
Um,
Wow. Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was really interesting
Yeah, it is
because
interesting.
we've heard about the Klarna, because Klarna, I believe, I'm pretty sure. In fact, yes, I know this for a fact. They had planned a IPO back in April,
Mm,
But when the whole all the tariff stuff started happening,
hmm.
they pulled it back because they were like,
There's
this is
also
not.
there's also some regulatory concerns swirling around them too, as far as
Oh yes, oh yes.
fraud and everything. So there, I think there was a lot of things they had to button up, but I think the timing now is perfect. So
I
that'll be
think,
a good one.
and especially like I said, especially with credit card stuff,
Hmm.
charges
Yep.
going back. So we have one final one which I thought was really interesting. An article in payments. They apparently collaborated with WorldPay on a report and found that 9 out of 10 businesses view access to embedded financial products as critical to their businesses.
Wow. So
Yeah,
just let's clarify that for a second for the audience. So you're talking about as a merchant, I want to be able to log into my payments dashboard or whatever and see, oh, access to capital,
yeah,
card issuing,
yeah,
financial, whatever. Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
And here's the number really caught my attention. 37% of small and micro businesses said they were highly likely to switch to a payment provider that offered embedded lending.
Mm, wow.
And that kind of like takes, I know that you've talked a lot about embedded payments.
Hmm.
That's a big thing with you.
Yeah,
This takes it like one step
it
further,
does.
you know?
Yeah.
And I can see that that's pretty logical. Think about like, merchant cash advances, right?
Hmm.
I mean, that would be a perfect, next step from offering, embedded payments.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and again, too, it's the embedded concept, right? It's
Right,
it's the idea of like I can log into my dashboard and I can borrow money. You look at Intuit has this, Stripe
right,
has this,
sure.
Square has this. This is
So
something
why,
businesses are just coming to expect that they're going to get
right,
access to capital as a result of their recurring revenue streams, and those are running through payment rails. So,
yeah. And then, and if you're not on top of that, you're gonna lose that battle
yep,
to the
absolutely.
likes of Square and Stripe. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the Intuit stuff gets me. I mean, every time I log on to QuickBooks to do something, they're like, "You need some money,"
All
you
right.
know.
All right.
It's like,
Absolutely. Wow.
and if I was not you know, a a lone proprietor, if I didn't, if I
Right,
had,
right,
a lot of payroll to meet and stuff like that, that would
right.
be very tempting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Wow, very interesting stuff. Well, yeah, we'll keep talking about that trend because again, it's um, I was reading a book recently written by a futurist,
Uh-huh.
they call it, and he was
Always,
talking
I always enjoy those.
I do too. He was talking about how, the importance of, you have like innovative technology and disruptive technology and things like that.
Right,
But where you really have opportunity is when you have multiple disruptive technologies that come together.
right,
And I think that's what we're seeing now is we're kind of seeing this confluence of like integrated payments. And then it's like, oh, also people are starting to understand the value of that recurring revenue as collateral for debt, and they want to be able to borrow money. And then there's like the idea of, really, really easy user interface. So they want to be able to have their mobile app and they want to do it all from there. And so a lot of pieces are kind of coming together. And
right,
I think the companies that win are going to are going to embrace that. And I think we're going to see more companies coming out for this kind of the ISO agent channel that are going to
right.
bring them truly cutting edge solutions. And I'm excited to be playing a part in that and excited to see other companies that are as well. So it's a really
Yeah,
exciting time to
it's
be in
going to be an
payments.
exciting time for this. You and
Yep.
I have talked about this in the past, but I have friends that'll be like, "Why do you write about payments?" I'm like, "Man, first of all,
Yeah.
it's the grease that keeps the economy going, but second
Right.
of all, I've been doing this for decades, and it's constantly changing.
Yeah. Always something new to talk about and write about. Yeah.
Always something new.
Yeah.
Always something."
Well, Patty, we always appreciate you putting in this work in and keeping us up to date. Thank you so much for all you
Yeah,
do.
my pleasure.